Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Because now I know when something happens in our lives that is unexpected, you have to go into it in order to ever have any hope of coming through it. So when you go, guess what? When you come out the other side, you grow.
Brought out more in me than I thought that I didn't even know that I had.
That has given all of us a great hope for what we can do with our own messages, our abilities to deliver, but most importantly, to deliver it in an authentic and very, very intriguing way.
Have you ever been in something or felt something where the only way you felt you could deal with it was to leave, get away? I thought that was the meaning of control. It took me 4.5 years to stop looking around the room of my life, of my journey, of my purpose, digging in cushions for a remote that never existed. Looking, re-looking, going back and upgrading, bringing in and pulling out things that do not serve you must go. Those things out in this world that are designed to bring us down, to keep us down, put their foot on our neck and whisper to us that we're never good enough, they don't whisper. They yell at us from all directions, top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner, 365 days. When somebody asks you about yourself, don't you dare whisper. When they ask you to raise your hand, don't you dare half raise it. When they ask you something good about you, you scream it with all you have. Come on now, get up, get up. Tell me who you are. Show me who you are. Greatest truth of all, that not everyone has to remain lost. Friday, and I still don't have a voice. It's Friday, but I don't care if I got to use a chalkboard. I'm still going to get it out. That's how it is. Hey, that kind of worked. I just got to sound like I'm from the South today. Okay. It's Friday. I'm happy. Are you happy? We did it. We got here. We got here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. And I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, sounding like Froggy from the Little Rascals. I know you're like, what are those? Who are they? It's from back in the olden days. So here we are at the end of the week. Are you ready for the weekend? What is the number one thing you want to accomplish over the weekend? I can tell you what I'm supposed. No, I almost said what I'm supposed to do. What I'm going to do. I have got to finish all of my yard work. The waste stuff, the yard waste stuff is free next week on Monday. So I want to get it all cut down and bagged up. That's one of my goals. What else? So there's that. What else? Oh, Lord. Piles of papers everywhere. I'm not kidding. That's getting cleaned up this weekend. Why? Because I am dedicated, as we all should be, to being a good steward. Nope. A great steward. Nope. A phenomenal steward, right? Listen, you guys, to whom much is given. That's all of us, because we have happiness. We have a lot of gratitude, whether we realize it or acknowledge it or not. So to whom much is given, much is required. Be a great steward of all your divine gifts and watch what the universe will do with you and through you. Can I get, here it comes. Can I get an amen? Throw it into the comments. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. So, couple things. Yep, it's Friday. I'm excited. Announcements. Yep, went back here last night, every Tuesday and Thursday night. It's getting easier, though. That's my trainer, Matthew. Go to one gym in the morning and another one in the evening. I'm trying to 60. I'm loving 60. Yes. And I'm loving the Bell of Purpose. The Bell of Purpose is not a gimmick. It is not a prop. It's an opportunity. So just like that bell, when I ring it, it has a ring to it. Well, that's the way it is with the truth. So when I ring the bell, it means there's some truth out here. Don't miss it. Don't be so busy making your coffee, flat ironing your hair, feeding the baby, etc., that you miss the truth, right? That's right. Everything we do should be started. We should lead with some form of the truth. That is the only thing that makes us fill it in. Exactly. In authority, authentic and transparent. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you who? Absolutely. So excited this week. Tuesday, we launched the Trajectory TV network. So if you or someone you know is a consummate content creator, a prolific storyteller, and they want to take their message to a whole new level, tell them to holler at your boy. I can get them started, and we're so excited. People are coming aboard from all over the world, and I'm just so excited. God is good all the time, and all the time, you better believe it. God is good. Listen, head over to iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your digital downloads, your podcast, and take a listen to this week's episode, License for Love. The heartbeat and relationship conversation with my good friend, Cowboy Jack Young out of Nashville. We do a new episode every Wednesday, and we don't want you to miss it. And the book, it is here almost November 9th. This is the last time I'm going to mention it so that we don't mess up the launch. So I'm going to go silent on this. So mark your calendars today for November 9th. You don't want to miss it. The launch of Align, the book. And that is all of our announcements for today. So, no, it isn't. I got one more right here. Don't forget, mid-December on Peacock. I think Peacock is free. I think it is. On Peacock, mid-December. I'll let you know the exact date when they let us know, but well, at least that's better than it was before. They were just saying winter 2022. So December, mid, Heathen, the movie. You'll see me in there. I ain't gonna tell you about much else because I don't want to spoil it. Nick Wingo. The Wingo stole my baby. Yes, he did.
I was outside in the driveway this morning just looking up in the sky, and I was like, oh, don't forget that one. The Wingo stole my baby. Nick Wingo. Now it makes sense, right? Nick Wingo is here. He's a husband. He's a father. He has worked as a firefighter, a paramedic, and he's an influencer in my eyes, and just an overall genuinely wonderful person. Has a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. They look like Disney kids. And he's gone through some shit just like the rest of us, and he's here today to pour into us, and we need to pour into him. That's what we are looking for, the two-way feed that is existent. Almost had a senior moment, y'all. Senior moments be gone. Get out of here, y'all. Bye. I almost said bye, bitch. Right? So anyway, Nick Wingo, the Wingo stole my baby, is here, and here he comes now. Listen, it's his first time. It's Friday. We all feeling good. So let's take it out on some hearts. Throw some digital applause up on the screen, if you will, because here he comes, my new good friend, Nick Wingo, who stole my baby. Sorry, that's the last time I'm going to do the Wingo stole my baby bit.
Oh, it's okay. I like it. It's good.
I got about 8 more.
I could jam with it. It's no problem at all.
I was so disappointed when you told me. I said, I'm the first person to do that. And you're like, nope. Man, how you doing, Nick Wingo?
I'm doing really good. It's a beautiful morning. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about this day. Just really leaning into the feelings of gratitude and all the things that are happening in my life. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I am too. I can't wait to get into some of that. I love your name. Because every time I say it, I hear, like, who's that stranger in town? They tell me his name is Nick Wingo. Nick Wingo. It's a great name for a great guy. Listen, I have a way I like to start the show by giving you a minute or so to just have a personal moment with the audience and just say hello, tell them where you're at in the world, and anything you want to share, and then I'll come back in. We'll get started. How's that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna tip out.
All right, perfect.
All you.
So my name is Nick Wingo. I was a firefighter for 18 years. I started at the age of 18. I had a significantly difficult career. I lost several friends, half of one crew. One of my close friends, he fell from a roof 6 stories, landed on his back. It killed him instantly. I've lost several friends to suicide. And in my career, my 18-year career, I just witnessed a lot of death and a lot of difficulties. And now I'm taking those lessons that I've learned, and I'm turning those into giving me the ability to share with other people. Number one, that our first responders are suffering and not a lot of people know about it. And number two, that whatever you have going on in your life, whatever you're struggling in, like, I see you and I hear you and I feel you, because I've been through a lot of struggle in my life as well. And so I'm just on a mission to really show people that there's no limits, there's no barriers, there's nothing that can hold you down. You can be and go and do whatever your heart desires to. And you're not alone in this thing we call life. You're not alone in the struggles. You're not alone in the difficulties.
Wow. Now that's what I call an opening statement. All right, Nick Wingo. I was watching you because you were the only one on screen, of course. Not that when the both of us are here, I'm just watching myself. I watch it then too, but So anyway,
Definitely.
I was like, dang, I would not want to get in a fight with you. Just those eyebrows alone tell me if you get your ass ready for a beat down, right? So do people ever think, because you're such a gentle guy, you really have a sweet personality, you really do. Hope you don't take offense to that.
Not at all.
So Nick, okay, you talked about, and we've heard some grumblings here and there about the PTSD. I'm a veteran. Thank you for your service. You weren't a veteran, were you?
Nope. Straight into the fire department at 18.
Right.
So.
See, but your service, I think we should say that to first responders. I think we should say that to nurses. I think we should say that to teachers. I really do.
I agree with you 100%.
Every one of those is a front line. every one of those. And I know you're not a kidding about some of the stuff that you have seen and how you can't leave it, you can't shed it. It's not like a skin. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who is a therapist, and uh, she was telling me that she had a client who was a police officer and he saw some horrible thing early yesterday morning, like 20 minutes after he got to work. And I was like, man, that made me think of you. So, Nick, at 18, I want to ask this. When you're young and ready to conquer the world and you go in, because I talk about this, I think, like when it comes to recruiters, because my recruiter was so slick. I'm not kidding. I went in there because he had a sign in the window that said free video. And I had 20 minutes before the movie across the street started. So I was like, let me go in here and watch this free video. 2 days later, I was at a pep station with my hand in the air with a room full of people and flags, and the rest is history. So what I'm getting at is there are a lot of things, PTSD, trauma, a lot of suicide, also associated with veterans, in particular combat veterans, and first responders are on that same kind of a battlefield. Now, when you were 18 and you went in and you said, I want to apply, I'm thinking this is what I want to do for a living. Did anyone if you knew any firefighters or had them in your families, a lot of them are generational, sometimes not, or the people that interviewed you, did anyone ever warn you about the PTSD possibilities and that you do know what you're getting into, right? You're going to see, did they show you anything like, look at all these things? Did
No, I had no clue. Honestly, I thought that, being a firefighter was being a hero. It was the men wanted to be firefighters and the women wanted to be with firefighters. And so as an 18-year-old man, I saw it as an opportunity to go out and serve the public and really, be that hero. It was the job that everybody wanted. The fire department's so hard to get into. I mean,
Oh, is it?
oh yeah, just to get these jobs is a feat in itself. I mean, throughout when when I got into a resident program, and then I
Mhm.
transitioned to another department in the city. I started out in a mountain town and then moved down into inner city. And getting that job in the inner city it was a difficulty. I mean, you're applying for maybe 5 positions, and there's 500, 1,000, 2,000 people applying for those 5 positions. So it's a very competitive thing to get into. It's not an easy thing to get into at all.
Really?
Yeah,
I always
definitely.
wondered. I always wondered. So is there like a firefighter academy like there's a police academy?
There is. So there's kind of two different ways it happens. A lot of people that go to like a community college, they get their firefighter one in an academy like that.
I didn't
And
know that.
then yeah, and so you can go to college and you actually get a associate's degree in fire science. And then there's also like when you get onto you would go to a Fire One and get that for like a smaller department because they don't do their own academies.
Yeah.
The bigger departments will do their own fire academies. And so I actually the fire department I started at, I went and got my firefighter one, went through an academy at a community college. And then when I got hired in the city I was working for, I went through another full academy where it was like a 3 month deal of every
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
learning all the stuff of what you need to learn to be a firefighter. So,
So you mentioned when you started, you were in a mountain town.
mhm.
So I'm assuming, what do you guys think? I was picturing, pretty quiet, lots of pine trees, winding roads, and every now and then a cow gets hit or something. Somebody's barn burns down, and just run out and throw a couple buckets on it and call it a day. I'm sure it was a little bit more intensive than that. But how different was where you started to where you went when you entered into the inner city aspect of firefighting?
Yeah, so when I was up in the mountains, I was working in Summit County, Colorado, which is it's a ski town. So it's actually the
Of
population
course.
raises significantly in the winter and then drops in the summertime. But it was just very different. When I was working up in the mountains, it was, wildfires and
Yeah.
a lot of traffic accidents on the highway because we cover a big section of I-70.
Mm.
Um, so it,
Well, I didn't think
not
about that.
yeah, not as much,
That's right. we automatically think of a house or a building burning. We forget about all those calls you go to for accidents and in neighborhoods. Matter of fact, now I think about it, I've seen fire trucks come to somebody's house when an ambulance comes.
Yep, that's exactly what happens. So that's the thing is not a lot of people really realize or understand is they hear firefighter and they think, oh, firefighter goes out and goes to fires and deals with fires. Yeah, that's about 10% of what we do.
Wow.
80% of what we do is responding to medical calls. And then the other 10% is, here's the thing. Firefighters are the fix-all of all problems. Like if you have an issue and you call 911 and the dispatcher is like, well, I don't know what to do with this, fire department's going to come. Like we come for all the stuff, anything really. I mean, it's like we come because of, water leaks or gas leaks or,
All kinds of
hazardous
stuff.
material spills or all that stuff is stuff that we deal with. So as a firefighter, you have such a wide range of things that you
Mhm.
handle and that you need to really understand how to deal with because literally we're professional problem solvers. Like that's what
Right.
we are.
Let me ask you this. I've always wanted to know this since I was a little kid. And I remember that field trip when we went to the fire station and the doors were open and the engines were in there and we got to go see where you guys sleep upstairs. And you know what all of us boys wanted to do?
Jump on the fire truck.
No, the pole.
Oh, the pole. Yep, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
The pole.
And then of course 20 years later I was working on the strip on a different kind of pole. I'm kidding. I was not. That was a joke. But I want to ask, I've always wanted to know when you're fully garbed, the mask and everything to go into a burning building, how much does all that stuff weigh?
Roughly about 35 to 40 pounds, depending if you're wearing a 45-minute bottle or not. So it just depends on what type of bottle you're wearing.
On the back.
Yeah. Hmm.
So all that stuff, them heavy ass boots and stuff, and big ass gloves and everything. And you
Yeah.
have to navigate and carry people out and all kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you could be carrying, you have a hose line, you have tools, you have a lot of stuff that you're carrying on top of just your gear. So it's cumbersome for sure.
Wow. Are there many female firefighters?
I've worked with several throughout my career. There are. It's a smaller percentage.
Mhm.
The fire department I was working for at the time, when I was up in the mountains, there was only one female, and then the other fire department I worked for, there was about 5 or 6
Okay. So
out of 100 people. So it's a pretty
how
small amount.
long, let me put it this way. At what point in your career, how old were you when in at 18? How old were you, Nick, when the honeymoon phase of that career ended? And it was
Uh,
like, oh shit.
it was about 10 years in, roughly.
So what happened? I mean,
It just was that I was the amount of stuff I was dealing with, the amount of death I was dealing with, the amount of, um, you know, just people not liking you and people attacking you and accosting you and
wait a minute.
yeah, oh yeah,
What people
yeah.
don't like? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
There is a large number of people who do not like any type of government employees or it's a real thing. I mean, there was 2 different times in my career where I had people pull knives on me. So, I mean, this is something that the firefighters are dealing with across the country. I
What's
mean,
that all about?
people are crazy.
But you mean like you're on a job?
Mhm. Like I'm responding to a medical call, and they like one example. I responded to a call where this guy was out in kind of just in an open parking lot, yelling and screaming, being crazy. And we went out there because that's what we come and the police department comes. Well, we showed up first, and I was working to de-escalate the situation, and this guy pulled a knife on us, and so we had to take him down and take the knife away from him because I mean he was attacking us. So
Wow. So
yeah.
You said 10 years in. So are you married at this point?
Yeah, I got married young. I got married actually. I was dating my wife when I started the fire department, or shortly after. Shortly after I started dating my wife,
So
and then I
over.
got married to her. Yeah, I think I got married to her when I was 20. It was 2008. We got married. So
Okay. And you guys out there, I want to apologize. Comcast, you know who they are. They're on one today, clearly, because we've been dropped back in and out like 4 times. So, Nick, it's on my end. So, if you see me disappear, whatever, just keep going. I'll be back when they let me in. So,
okay.
Okay. So, when you were deciding to propose to your wife, and then you did, and she said yes, before you started having children and stuff, was the danger aspect of this career, or just that crazy lifestyle that comes with it? Was that it? Was that a conversation?
Not really. It's so interesting that you asked that. Just recently, we were somewhere. We were in Seattle, Washington, at the Space Needle, and um, there was a man that was irate, crazy, yelling, screaming at the top of his lungs, and there was like 2 fire engines and a bunch of police officers and a medic unit, and they clearly had it handled. And so for me, I saw the situation as safe because I saw all the people there, and that they were handling the situation at hand, and there was no problem. My wife, on the other hand, she was freaked out. She was like, "It's not safe for us to be here. There's this thing going on," and I was like, "No, really, it's not a big deal because they've clearly got it handled." And she's going, "No, it's not
No,
okay.
I'm with your wife. I'm
It's
with
not
your
okay.
wife.
It's not safe." And I just, in that moment, we had this conversation of, look, this was normal for me. That type of thing for me that's like a normal day to day thing. So for me to see that and seeing what I've seen, I know that the people there, they have that situation handled. No question to me.
Well, yeah, but I get it, Nick. But for those, see, you're used to going into those volatile situations.
Yes.
Most of us are not.
Right.
And a lot of that, just like if, a military soldier is on the battlefield, is mindset is what
Hmm.
keeps you safe. It's not
Yep.
about how well you are, how good you are as a shooter or whatever. It's your mindset and what you're, putting fear in check, I would say. But what about this? So, but you got to understand too, in this day and age, you hear all that kind of a right thing, irate and craziness going on. The first thing most of us think is that public shooting.
Hmm.
You can't go anywhere nowadays without, hear a ruckus, you think, let's hit the ground kind of thing. It's just crazy that that's the world we live in today, but nonetheless, a reality. So PTSD, just from the news, So let's get into those 4 letters. There's some powerful letters right there. Post-traumatic stress disorder. At what point in the 18 years did you feel the needle starting to hit the red as far as PTSD? And did you know it was PTSD, or did it just present itself as some bullshit in your world?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely presented itself as some bullshit in my world for sure. Looking back now, knowing what I know, and retroactively looking back as to where I had it from the first call. One of the first calls that I encountered was a dead kiddo, a little baby, about 9 months old, and I remember getting back into the engine, and the conversation was brief and short, and pretty much that, hey, this is just part of the job. This is just what we go through, and we don't really share. We don't really talk about it further than, hey, this, it is what it is.
There's the problem.
It was a
Now,
major problem.
is that some kind of a code amongst fellow firefighters and paramedics that, listen, we don't want to talk about it, da, 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 just do your job and get your ass out of here and go home?
It's changing. It's changing. The environment is changing right now because people like myself are starting to speak up.
Mhm.
But at the time, it was like, look, if you can't handle what you saw, then you're not fit to do the job. And
That's
so
not
there's this.
fair.
It's. I mean, that was kind of the what had been brought up from the generations of this is how it had always been. Nobody had been taught any differently. It had been passed on from person to person to person that, hey, we just if you can't handle this, then you can't do the job, which is the biggest load of crap there is, and it's so far from the truth. And we are starting to see a change in the fire service that people are starting to speak up and say, hey, this isn't right. There needs to be something done, and we need to talk about this stuff. That was not the case 18 years ago. It just wasn't. This stuff, mental health in the fire service was not really a big topic of discussion.
So what did PTSD look like? Where were the fractures in your world, Nick? I mean, were you going off on people, losing your temper, breaking shit, drinking more? What happened?
It started with alcohol. So it started with alcohol because I would want to numb. And so I was able to hold my stuff together pretty well, except for the drinking piece. And so then it started to spill out in other areas. So then it went from drinking to anger outbursts, road rage. Oh yeah, yeah. It's somebody. If somebody wrongs me on the road, and I have all these feelings and all these emotions that I've been locking up inside, that's my anger would overtake my ability to shove those down. And so then it would release just verbal, yelling at people, flipping people off. Yeah, exactly.
You ever chase somebody? Like get behind them and.
I did one time.
Oh my God.
Chase. Yep. I just losing my mind.
I just jump out my car and let the car keep going if you was chasing me. I ain't lying. Or I don't know what I do. I don't know. I'd start praying, Lord Jesus, be Heavenly Father. Well, okay. So did you, when these things started presenting, of it, or did people was it like a fugue state? And then people would tell you about, you were really an ass last night. How did it start changing the world, the immediate world that you lived in, i.e. your marriage, your relationship with people very close to you?
Mm-hmm.
What were they saying to you?
My wife was saying nothing because there was fear around it. I didn't want to trigger me or cause any further issues. My wife has some trauma herself from her childhood that she encountered, and from her childhood trauma, it caused her the ability to not use her voice. And so I became not safe because if I would, she didn't feel safe to use her voice with me. And so she was never really able to say anything to me because she didn't have the ability emotionally to say anything. And so it became this deep lockdown of all of her stuff and us not sharing our stuff with each other. And it created a not safe environment. And so really, I never shared with her what was going on with work, but she knew something was off.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, was never sharing with anybody. Like looking back retroactively, like if I would have started to share my stuff with somebody, my wife, I would have been much better off. But I chose not to because I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do or how to handle it.
So do they make therapy readily available to first responders? Because I mean, here's the deal. We hear so much about the suicide in the military with veterans and whatnot, but I was shocked the first time I heard that there was such a high number of first responders, paramedics, and firefighters who take their own lives from PTSD. I really did not know. Why do you think it is, Nick, that that's a surprising revelation to so many of us when we finally hear it?
Because everybody sees firefighters as heroes. They see them as the people who come in and take care of the problems and fix the things, right? And they don't understand that. Here's the thing: is just like the start of the conversation, right? Is that you didn't realize that what firefighters do. You hear firefighter and you think, oh, somebody who fights fires.
Yeah.
That's not it. I mean, we're dealing with death and destruction and severed limbs and stuff that you see in war environments. I mean, I've seen people who have been executed. I've dealt with some pretty heavy stuff that is war-like stuff. You know,
Right.
I respond to the war that's happening on U.S. soil, and there is a war happening on our U.S. soil. There
Mm.
are bad things happening in the United States, and a lot of people just are blind to it, and they don't
Right in
know
our own
about it.
backyards.
Yes, they
Right
just
in
don't
our
know
own
about it.
backyards. Okay. Listen, when we return, we're going to take a short break. I want to get into the topic with our guest, Nick Wingo, about what it felt like when he separated from the work that we're describing here, firefighting and paramedic work, to just be a normal civilian. And did that feel like a fall from grace, so to speak? Or what happens when you're looked up to as a hero and then suddenly you're just a regular person? In a way, you've just lost the only identity you've ever had. So we're going to talk about that and more when we come back. Don't go away. Nice time to share out the broadcast. Hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started. One story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link. Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. Before I get Nick Wingo, our wonderful storytelling guest today, really pouring into us about his journey, let me tell you about part of my journey. Getting rid of things that don't serve me, even things that I consume, especially so, not just in my mind and spirit, but in my body. I got rid of the Diet Coke and replaced it with V8. V8, it's a great way to go. 60 calories in every one of these cans, 2.5 servings of vegetables. How can that be wrong? You want to find it? It's easy. Head down the juice aisle at your local grocer. And then when you check out, just tell them that Lauren from Bathrobe Moments sent you. V8, get yours today. As Lucy would say, Yum, tastes just like candy. Kind of. So anyway, welcome back, Nick. Welcome back to the show. Before we left, we were talking about the PTSD and whatnot. But then I thought about, let's fast forward to the 18-year mark. You've been doing this since you left high school. It's really all you've ever been. It's a great thing. People don't realize, I mean, yeah, you have all the stuff that we talked about, but then one of the great pieces.
Oh, looks like I lost you. So I'll just share where at the 18-year mark when I left the fire department, I had this identity in being a firefighter, and so I was everything about me was a firefighter. Everything in me was a firefighter, and when I left, it was this very difficult transition. It was this very difficult time transitioning in away from that. In fact, I wrote a passage while I went to treatment for 35 days. So I left the fire department. I actually got forced out. I got told that I needed to go and get treatment because I was having some issues. And I went to treatment for 35 days. When I was in treatment, I realized like I can't go back to the fire department. I can't add any more stress into my life. I can't add any more things into my life. And so what I did is that I started to just really look internally and figure out like what am I going to do with myself now, and how can I transition out of this identity that I was in. And when I was in the treatment center, I actually wrote a passage. It was called "Who Am I?" And it was this question myself of like, who am I truly? Because I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a dad. I'm not a husband. I'm not all the death that I see. I'm not all the destruction that I've been. I'm not all these things that I have created internally as my identity. I simply I just am. And when I came to that conclusion that I just am, it opened up this whole new world to me of discovering like, man, I've been so limiting in my beliefs and so limiting in my identity that I was able to just step back and go, that's not me. That's just a piece of my story. And actually, it's just a power piece of my story. And now I saw myself as somebody I was a very good paramedic. I was a very good firefighter. I was very good at my job. I was very passionate at my job. I saved a lot of people's lives. And now I see this whole nother ability to save so many more lives and impact so many more lives in a different way. What I was doing was so small in comparison to what I can do now, because now my reach that I will be able to have because of my story, because of my experiences, because of the big things that I've gone through will be so much more impact, so many more lives impacted. And I'm already seeing the fruits of that by pouring into people that were struggling just like I was. I recently ran a men's retreat where I brought in, there's one man in specific that I really lean into. He's a firefighter in Modesto, California, struggling. And I offered a change in perspective to him, and we've been talking since he's left. He's off all of his medications that he was on. He's had a complete mind shift in what he's doing. And the one thing that he said to me that really impacted me is he said, "Look, what you're doing right now is you're changing generations, because the way I'm speaking with my kids, the conversations I'm having with my wife. So I just see this really great opportunity that's arisen because of all this difficulties and these struggles and all these things."
What what about that's awesome, and thank you for carrying the show while I was listening on the phone while you told you they were gonna boot me out. But thank you for that, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You're a pro. Um, I think I had a download for you actually while I was booted off. Maybe that's why. But I really think you have something coming where you're going to be able to help an awful lot of people understand how not to be swallowed alive inside that title / label of the work you do. Because, I believe, I'm sure you do, I don't know, but sound off on this, so many people are under the mindset that what they need to understand that what they do is not who you are. The work you do is not who you are, okay? And there's a lot of burnout industries, and they're the ones that are most important to us. Now, let's talk about this. Solutions. Yes, now you're helping people that are in the same spot as you or close to, i.e., in the midst of it or coming out of it or have been out of it and still are the same and nothing's changed and they want to. But what needs to be done so that this gets better? It seems like such a huge challenge. So, how do you deal with taking little bites, I guess, to make this better so that you're not doing the same thing that your job did to you, i.e., being overwhelmed from the vastness of it? How do you do this?
It's a really difficult space to step into because firefighters are so stubborn. And that's speaking from one. I mean, I literally, when I left the fire department, I was forced out. What I'm realizing is, though, is that the more of us that begin to speak up and say, like, hey, this is not okay, these things that are happening are not okay, and we're
Oh,
hurting, the more and more people I'm hearing step up and start speaking. And so it's making a voice for other people so they can use their voice as well.
so wait a minute. After 18 years of going in and out of life-threatening situations on a daily basis, going home and dragging 99 or more percent of that home with you, you said, I was forced out. Forced out by whom?
So I when I started having nightmares and was not able to sleep, and I told my partner, and my partner went to the captain and told the captain that I was having nightmares and having some issues, and then I was told that I needed to go get a psych eval. I was told that I needed to go get checked out and take a break. And I would have never
Oh,
done that on my own. I would have never
oh,
stood up and said, like, hey, I'm having a problem. I'm not
yeah.
sleeping. I would have never done that. And so it took them pushing me to go and get the to go get checked out.
But not sleeping, I would never think that that was something that stigma would be attached to. Um, Now, yeah, I'm hearing voices of some of the bodies I stepped over, and some of these are picked up from some of these runs. But the fact that you can't sleep when you combine it with what you deal with on a daily basis, how is that? How is that? No wonder nobody speaks up. What's up with that?
It's the fear that you can't do the job, right? Because again, it goes back to my identity is that I'm a firefighter. My identity. So what, like, this headspace I was in is that I am a firefighter. That's who I am. And if I cannot handle these situations, then I'm
I
not fit to do my
I
job.
get that. I get that. But if you're the one who says it, who speaks it up and you're transparent, you're making yourself vulnerable so that you can be stronger, become better,
Mhm.
and this is what happens, which would I rather have? Which I would rather be beside someone getting help for something because I know than in a room full of people that are suppressing it and you don't know what's going to happen at any given moment because nobody, you know what I'm saying? How
Yeah, for
does that
sure.
make sense?
Well, here's the thing, Lauren. Let me be just real raw and vulnerable and
Man,
real with you. Let me bring bring the real truth out. The real truth is that when I left, the stuff that I went through to get out was painful. The city fought against me. Um, there was a lawsuit. There was major issues with my treatment. When I went to file for disability, there was three different opinions from three different doctors. One doctor said that I was not disabled. One doctor said that I was partially disabled and needed reevaluation at 5 years. The other doctor said that I was permanently disabled. And so there is such a mess when you say that you have post-traumatic stress that just causes so many problems for yourself. And to top that off, I don't really have. I mean, there's a few guys that I talk to still from the fire department that I worked with, but there's a lot of people who shunned me because of me standing up and saying, "Hey, I'm done." There was a lot of judgment towards me, and so all those fears that I had were validated by what happened when I left, because it was not an easy it was not easy getting out of the fire department. And I know of several other people right now who are going through the same thing that I just went through, are in lawsuits with their cities, are dealing with the struggle of not getting the support that they truly need, and basically being told, yeah, your post traumatic stress, yeah, it's a thing, but we don't really think that it's as much of a thing as you're making it out to be.
Shame, 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 shame on them is what I have to say about that. But let's go to the bright side of this scenario. The work you are doing that is appreciated and needed, helping people. Tell everybody how you are helping yourself through being of service to others and how that feels today.
Yeah, so right now, the big things I'm leaning into is I've been doing men's retreats where I bring men in and I teach them the things and work with them to learn the things that I have learned throughout over my past 2 years of journey. My biggest thing right now that I've been leaning into is my breath work. Over the past 2 years, I went and worked with some of the industry, just people who are just making huge impact with breath work. I've had an
Mhm.
opportunity to work with, and so now I'm coaching breath work and sharing that with other people because it has been so powerful for me.
What's it done? What would be your number one bell ringing moment from doing breath work? Where has it shown up to serve you in its strongest capacity?
Yeah, it has helped me to just slow down and be ever present. And one of the biggest discoveries for me is actually feeling my body. My body has never been safe. I've been always up in my mind. And so when I started to understand that I actually had a body and that it actually had feelings and emotions, and that those feelings were actually physical manifestations within my body, life changing for me. Like completely life changing to understand that, oh, okay, I'm feeling sad. And my
Yeah,
sadness arises in my chest, and I feel heavy in my chest. And it's okay for that feeling to arise. I don't have to suppress that. I get to
right,
just embrace it and feel it and let it arise and then let it flow out of me. Maybe that's through tears, or maybe that's through yelling or screaming or whatever that is.
whatever way.
Whatever it is, I've learned that I can just release those emotions instead of imprinting them on my limbic system. I've done plenty of that in my lifetime. That's what led me to my post traumatic stress. So
Yeah.
having the ability to actually release is amazing.
Mm, lot in there. There's so much still left to unpack. I'm gonna have you come back, Nick. This hour has simply flown by, and I'm serious. I would really like to have a part two of this, because we're at the point now where we're talking about the pieces to change the narrative of those four little John Wayne Gacy serial killing letters, PTSD, and
Mhm.
making them more manageable. So I really would you be willing to come back,
I'd
say
love to.
like in
Absolutely.
a couple weeks and we pick back up? I would really
Yeah.
love that. Great, great. So you guys, there it goes. We're going to bring Nick back in a couple weeks because we're just getting started here. But in the meantime, tell us about what we're looking at scrolling along the bottom of the screen, nickwingo.com. If
Yeah.
people should go over, what is it that they should expect to find once they get there?
Yeah, so nickwingo.com is my website. You can find all my socials on there, as well as my book that I wrote. The book is Building Grit, my Building Grit, How to Fight the Fires of PTSD and Come Out Stronger on the Other Side. I also have the ability to connect with me to come to my breathwork sessions. And then also come to check out the podcast I do with my wife. Our podcast is called the Walk as One podcast, and that's
Nice.
where we just share all the stuff that we've gone through over the years and the things that we're using to improve our marriage and come together rather than going up. It's separating apart.
And what's the name of it again?
It's Walk as One, and it's just the number one, not spelled out.
And where do they find that?
We're on all the major platforms:
Okay.
Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all
I
the
know.
all the
I know
platforms.
one place you're not.
What's that?
Trajectory TV.
We are not there. Well, maybe that'll change.
Maybe that'll change. You heard it here first. Listen, Nick, we're going to get you back in a couple weeks. Stay in backstage. Let's get that booked today. And listen, I thank you so much for coming in today. I know it couldn't have been easy, but it gets easier. And you're helping that be a reality for all of us. So thank you again for that. And for all of you out there, think about what Nick was saying today. You may not have been a firefighter. You may not have ever been looked up to as a hero, but you still can be. And that is through the lens of transparency. Whatever you have lived through, share it, because you didn't get over it. You didn't go around it, and you certainly didn't dig your way out. You went through it so you could get to it. And it that you get to is your story. So tell it today. Every scar is there to remind us of what we have conquered. Don't forget that. And Nick will be back in a couple weeks to remind us even more so. So in the meantime, get out there, won't you please? Have a wonderful day. Have an even more wonderful weekend. And remember, just get up every day and promise yourself in the universe, today, I am going to seek something to bring to this world that this world has never seen. But remember, when you say that, it means you have to commit to getting up and being someone today you've never been. I'm Lauren. I'll see you Monday, God willing, out front on the front porch as we convene together for another illuminated conversation right here on Bathrobe Moments. Get out there, be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you, Nick. See you. Stay back and get you booked. Okay. Bye, you guys. Have a great weekend.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you.